Hello, and welcome to Grace Gabs. I am Shonda Schaefer, the CEO of Grace, and I'm real excited today to introduce our very special guest. We work in partnership with many organizations, but one that we are super proud to be partners with is Alliance for Children. And so today we have Miss Julie Evans, the CEO for Alliance for Children. And I've also asked our Chief Programs Officer at Grace, Stacy Pacholick, to join us in this conversation. So welcome both of you. How you doing, Julie?
You know, I am doing well. It's good to see you guys. It's good to be with friends, and I'm excited about our time this morning.
Fantastic. Well, why don't you start us off by kind of telling us what does Alliance for Children do, and then certainly we want to talk about how this whole COVID thing has affected the work you do and the people you serve.
Yeah, so Alliance for Children is Tarrant County's Children's Advocacy Center. And like Grace, we are a nonprofit organization that's really committed to safety and healing. And for us, it's focused on children and families that have been impacted by child abuse. We actually co-locate in the same building with Child Protective Services, with law enforcement, and we have a multidisciplinary approach to child abuse investigations when they rise to a criminal level. This is a concept that was actually born in this community out of true need. The need for when children's protection needs are coupled with the need to seek justice on their behalf. And what does it look like when, as a community, we work together in that approach? And so it's layered in a medical approach, clinical approach, therapeutic, really anything a child and family may need as they are navigating the criminal justice system. And so I think like we know in so many issues in our community, it's not done in a vacuum. It's not done in silo. I know many a times growing up, and maybe I cling to it more now as a parent, the reminder that it takes a village to raise a child is not lost on me. And I think in our work, we see that it also takes a village to protect one when they're in need. And so really that's the heart of what Alliance for Children was built to do, is to walk alongside children and families and yet be a part of the actual investigation, which is a little unique.
I love that. And so I want to talk to Stacy real quick. Stacy, as you run all of the GRACE programs, which is a big job also, I know that you've had occasion to work with Julie and her team. How does the GRACE programs kind of fit in that model?
You know, we've worked with Alliance for Children and Julie in particular for years. And everything that we do, we're trying to evaluate when a family is getting to the point where they might be at risk for some maladaptive behavior, like abuse. And so we are constantly watching for that. Many of our programs have a key component in them that is set there on purpose to fight some of that. So for example, our upcoming Feed Our Kids program, you know, the main reason we do that is to feed children. And so we have 6 locations, and we're making sure that those children know that they have a meal waiting for them every day at lunch. But the other part to that is the need for families to be able to get out of their house. And this year in particular is so important in looking at the psychological and emotional effects of being confined and also being secluded. And so allowing them to come out to those meals, allowing them to socially distance, but still to communicate with the other families that are out there, and also to have activities and anything from kicking a ball to sidewalk chalk and all of those activities. The reason we do that is to allow them to get out and to have that. And that is so important for their well-being. And it's so important not only for the children, but for the adults as well. So there's a lot of components of what we do in all of our program that is hopefully able to address some of those warning signs and some of those situations that that increase the chance of some of that abusive behavior.
Exactly. I love that. And we've always said the Feed Our Kids program is certainly a meal program, but more importantly, it's about getting eyes on these kids. And so that kind of leads me to Julie. You and I had a conversation last week about some of the things that you've been seeing and why now, what is happening, to I guess for lack of a better word, in the area of reporting of abuses and things of that nature. And I know you've got some efforts underway to kind of disrupt that that paradigm that we're seeing. But why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of what you've seen over the last several months and what concerns that's raised for you?
Sure. Well, I think we can all recognize that child abuse doesn't stop during a pandemic. And while we wish it would, we wish there'd be so many things that could stop children from being abused. The reality is this is not it. The unfortunate part is our ability to gain access or knowledge, really, that abuse is going on in the home has been halted. When you look at Tarrant County and really zoom out and look at Texas as an entire state, the #1 reporter of child abuse are educators. And when you think about it, it makes so much sense, right? Our school-age children are with them so many hours during a day, but they're also with them day after day, week after week. And their ability to build rapport and structure for these children, over time, many of our educators are really building a trusting relationship with our kids. And so the child comes to know that this is an adult in my life that I can ask for help. Well, when schools closed and everything started to shift, I think all of us in the child welfare kind of group instantly felt concerned because we knew the significant layer of protection was now going to shift. And while for some of us, it has truly provided beautiful opportunities in our home, and I'm a parent of 2. I've got a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old. Y'all continue to pray for me. She's driving as we speak. The reality is it really has produced some beautiful moments in our home when we've slowed down and really been able to be together. And yet, for some of the kids in our communities, home isn't safe. And for the very thing that I want to celebrate, that's the very thing that is causing increased trauma for some of the kids in our homes. And they no longer have the break of going to school and the abuse stopping. They no longer have the break of going in and being praised or encouraged for something they're doing well. Then you layer that with the absence of other protective adults, whether that's grandparents or going to church and seeing my Sunday school teacher or playing soccer and getting to see the soccer coach and other parents. So all of that has been stripped at once. And while I understand the medical need to do it, we're now having to say, well, now how do we pivot and make sure that kids are safe at home, knowing that for months there were little ability to get outside that. And there were also really challenging obstacles to even getting other protective adults' eyes on these kids, if you will. To put a little bit more concrete numbers to that, this time of year, when we're in school and traditional times, Tarrant County receives on average 100 to 120 new intakes of abuse and neglect investigations daily. So 100 and 120 new abuse investigations per day. That has been cut in half. So again, we don't think that the abuse has been cut in half, unfortunately. We just think the reports aren't coming in because of the limited number of protective adults that some of our kids have access to. So it really is forcing us in the child welfare kind of group to say, what can we do differently? What are the prevention methods that we need to rethink? And Shonda, it's what prompted me to call you and say, hey, let's lean into this partnership another way, because we know there are groups like GRACE that are doing great work like feeding our kids right now, and y'all are laying eyes on so many kids. So how can we ensure that we're partnering together to say, are the volunteers prepared for when they see kids? What are the things they can ask? What can they look for? But also, how can we get resources to parents? We know this is stressful times. I mentioned the age of my kids, and they bring their own challenges, right? And yet I think back to when they were toddlers and some of the challenges that it was to go all day long, when I'm running out of ideas on how to entertain them. And I really want to be a good mom and not put them in front of a TV again for the 5th hour today. And yet, I mean, I think sometimes you're just looking for a way to make it through the next day. So I think in partnerships like with Grace and really leaning into that, saying, how can we work together to help parents know that, first off, it's okay. We're all a little stressed right now. And I think owning that and feeling comfortable to acknowledge that it is important. But then also give them strategies to help cope. Give them strategies on things that they can do with kids to break up the day, to create a routine that feels normal in a lot of the ways, the way school does. It creates a routine. Well, how can we do that at home? Because oftentimes with routine, we can reduce some stress in some simple ways. So I'm excited that we're talking today and excited about how collectively we can continue to do right by kids and families, because that's what we're all here to do.
You know, and I don't want to belabor the idea, but something you told me the other day has really struck with me, and that is the decrease in the number of reports, and yet, from what I understand, the increase in the lethality, or the severity of the cases that you're getting. And again, I don't want to necessarily belabor that point, but I think it's important for our audience to hear that. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, we really have seen an increase in violence despite the reduction in the number of cases reported. We had, during the shelter at home order, we had multiple fatalities that we came in and responded to as part of the investigation. We had increased violence in things that we were just seeing, whether the physical abuse cases at a heightened level than we were seeing in a typical time, a typical, 4-week period. And so it is pretty alarming to those of us. I've been doing this for 20 years at this point, and to see in this very unique, concrete time, again, while the numbers are down, the severity has just skyrocketed at the violence our kids are being exposed to, and how quickly that escalated.
Yeah. And I do think it takes a village. As a mother myself, I can tell you I am not equipped to be home. I'm lucky that my kids are older now. I think had they been 2, 3, 4 years old, I would be in a much different emotional state myself. So I think that is important that we all recognize that. I think that offers a level of empathy to understand what our parents are going through as well. And to that end, I want to ask Stacy, I know that as we're getting ready to kick off Feed Our Kids, which we're excited to get these kiddos out again, what kind of precautions have you and your team been putting into place? And I know when we did our kickoff, we asked a couple of Julie's team members to be a part of that. So why don't you speak to what we're going to be doing this summer to just kind of do our part?
Absolutely. So we provided education for each of the people that are coordinators for Feed Our Kids, things to watch for, and also, even more importantly, direct people's numbers that they can call if they do have a question or they have a concern. Now, of course, if they feel like that they need to, we condone reporting. Every adult in the state of Texas is considered a mandated reporter. But so often it's just getting information or getting other options in these individuals' hands. And so I'm going to plug what Alliance for Children has gotten together for different organizations who have gotten together to support a hotline. And we will have these flyers. We've been giving them out with every basket of food that we have given out in the last month. we have included one of these flyers, and it's for a hotline for parents who can call to get those other resources and to get new ideas like Julie was talking about. And we will have these available not only for the people that are attending the program, but also for the volunteers. You know, part of this is education, and part of this, no matter what it is, if it's child abuse, if it's food insecurity, part of it is getting that information out to the people that can make the most impact. And that's what we're doing. And so I think that this hotline, which I'm just going to go ahead and say is 817-335-4673, 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. I think that that's a great program to have available to parents, especially at this time.
I love that. Yeah, and it is a creative way to address the issue, and so I certainly kudos to Alliance for Children and Julie and her team. You know, and I think probably I kind of want to end on this. I want to just implore people to, you know, we've heard it said before, see something, say something. I don't love the idea of all of us walking around looking at each other as though we're criminals, and I want to stop short of that. At the same time, I think if you see someone struggling, kindness will win every time. And I guess maybe that's, I want to get your parting thoughts, but I think is our volunteers are interacting with these children and in some cases their parents, offering support, offering, you know, kindness, you know, giving people an opportunity to say what's going on in their home, whether they're the children or the adults. To have a mom show up and most likely the first time she's seen another adult, you know, face to face over this period too, you know, to give that mama a chance to just breathe and share frustrations and empathize with these parents, because we're all going through this together. I just think that this is going to be a very important time that we all practice kindness as best we can, and certainly being aware of and knowing what the pitfalls are will help us do that. But Julie, do you have any other parting thoughts or anything that you guys are working on that we can help you with this summer?
I think your message of kindness is one that, while in some regards it seems so simple, is one that, man, imagine a world or just a Tarrant County where kindness runs through. And I think right now, what a great reason to be motivated to show kindness. I think every home has been impacted in a way that none of us could have anticipated over the last 2 months. And yet also what an opportunity to just pour into each other with kindness. And I think not only are we going to see the resiliency that comes when kindness is on display, but we'll also see that we all come out better. I do think that in some ways, the helpline, the family lifeline that Stacy mentioned, it's around that. What does it look like when we can pour into each other? We can communicate resources that exist, that are available, and not wait for kids to need us through investigation. What does it look like if a kid never needs to walk through the doors of Alliance for Children? That's a win. That's a win for all of us. And so I think that family line, which we've done in partnership with so many people, ACH being a lead partner, but then the resources are they're really put together by everybody within Tarrant County. It's designed to be a lifeline that parents can call and say, I need help. And maybe it's behavioral health, maybe it's mental health, but maybe it's also, I just need a break. What are some resources to camps that are going on, or virtual camps? Like Alliance for Children is doing a virtual day camp this year for the first time. But I think there's going to be opportunities throughout our community this summer that really can give that moment of respite to our families and really be a tangible, concrete message of kindness, that we're walking beside them, that we are here with them. And I'm excited by that. I really am.
That's awesome. Stacy, I know that we are gearing up for the Feed Our Kids program. We're also launching the Grace Grocery Giveaway. What other kind of activities do you foresee this summer, and is there opportunities for people to help?
There is always opportunities for people to help. And, you know, because of the pandemic, for a while we had to limit groups coming together, but I think we're moving in the direction to get people back involved. And I think people are ready to be involved. So give us a call, whatever your strength is, whatever your passion is about. I guarantee you we can get you involved in some way.
And I will end with this. I've always felt that in times of struggle, in times of pain and misery, when I personally have an opportunity to think about serving other people, that's what gets me out of those ruts. So I'm certainly not the expert, but I can tell you that when you find an opportunity to help your neighbor, whether it be through an organization like GRACE or Alliance for Children or any of the many, many wonderful nonprofits that are doing work out there, or just literally your neighbor across the street, offering to, let the kids play in your yard for a couple hours, or, taking cookies to your elderly neighbor. I've always found that to be one of the easiest and quickest ways to pull myself out of a funk. So I would highly recommend that. And of course, either GRACE or Alliance for Children would be happy to help put you to work if that's the place you want to put your energy. So, but there are hundreds, literally thousands of ways that you can be kind to your neighbor. So I think we'll end on that. Thank you so much, Julie and Stacy. I appreciate your time and your expertise. You guys are busy women doing great work, and I'm so proud to call you my friends and hopefully do my part to help support you. So thank you. Thank you. You guys have a great rest of the day. And for our listeners, please join us again. We're going to continue doing this GRACE Gabs. It really kind of started out as a conversation, and we are exploring a lot of topics that I think are important. You'll be seeing other GRACE Gabs on social media. Reach out if there's anybody you think we should be talking to that we haven't thought of, because we'd love your ideas and suggestions. But above all else, take care of yourself and take care of each other and be kind. We love you all, and we can't wait to do virtual hugs and kisses. But for now, have a great weekend. Thank you.